All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we are going way back, like 2,000 years back, to tackle this amazing puzzle about our own minds. The question is pretty simple, but the answer is anything but. Can one single stray thought completely change everything?
So, let me ask you this. You've been there, right? You're laser focused on something important, totally in the zone. And then, boom, some random thought just pops into your head from out of nowhere and completely throws you off track. You usually just brush it off, right? It feels like nothing. But what if it wasn't nothing? What if that little mental hiccup had real-world consequences?
Well, that exact idea brings us to this incredible concept from ancient Jewish law called pigul. And this, believe me, is where it gets wild. Pigul basically means that a sacred offering, something physically perfect, no flaws at all, could be rendered totally invalid, completely ruined, just because the priest had the wrong thought in his head. Just a thought. We're talking about the pure, raw power of intention.
Okay, so here's the deal. The ancient rabbis, being the brilliant thinkers they were, didn't just stop there. They took this idea of pigul and they pushed it to its absolute logical extreme. They came up with this very specific, really high-stakes thought experiment about what happens when a priest has a series of jumbled-up thoughts, one right after the other.
So, picture this. A priest is doing his thing, making the offering. And in his mind, 3 thoughts flash by. Bang, bang, bang. Thought number 1. I'm going to eat this offering after the time limit is up. That's an invalid thought, we'll call it wrong time. Thought number 2, a totally different one. I'm going to eat this thing in the wrong place. Also invalid, let's call it wrong place. And then thought number 3 pops up, and it's wrong time all over again.
So here's the million-dollar question they debated. Do those 2 wrong-time thoughts somehow reach across that wrong place thought in the middle? Do they connect and combine to become strong enough to invalidate the whole offering? Or does that thought in the middle act like a mental firewall, just completely severing the connection between them?
All right, let's get into the arguments. First up, we've got a brilliant sage named Rava. And Rava's position was crystal clear. He said, absolutely, those 2 thoughts connect. He believed they could literally leapfrog over that unrelated thought in the middle.
And the way he described it is just beautiful. He said the first thought awaked as one asleep. Get that? It's like the first wrong-time thought doesn't disappear. It just goes dormant. It's sleeping. And then when the second wrong-time thought appears, it's like an alarm clock goes off, waking the first one up so they can join forces.
To back this up, Rava uses this fantastic analogy from the laws of ritual purity. Okay, check this out. Imagine you have something with a super potent, let's call it a level 1 impurity. If you split it in 2, each half is now weaker, right? But, and this is the kicker, if you mix those 2 halves back together, bam, the original full-strength potency returns. Rava says our thoughts work exactly like that.
But hey, this is a debate, right? So of course there was a strong counter-argument. And it came from another genius, Rav Hamnuna. He looked at the same scenario and said, no way. He argued that the thought in the middle isn't just a harmless little gap, it's an active roadblock.
For Rav Hamnuna, you simply cannot ignore that wrong place thought. He said it actually gets in there and mixes things up, creating what he called a combination of improper intentions. It's like a mental cocktail that permanently messes with the original thought, preventing those 2 wrong time thoughts from ever getting back together.
And he had his own analogy to prove it, also from purity laws. So what happens if you take something with that strong level 1 impurity and you mix it with something that has a weaker level 2 impurity? The whole thing defaults to the weaker level. The original strength is diluted. It's gone for good. You can't get it back. See the difference? For Rav Hamnuna, this interference is permanent.
So what we really have here are 2 completely different models of how our own minds work. You've got Rava's view, a model of reconnection. It suggests our focus is resilient, that it can find its way back after being distracted. Then you have Rav Hamnuna's view, a model of interference, where even a brief stray thought can come in and permanently dilute or block our original intention. It's fascinating stuff.
Okay, so who won? Which model of the mind prevailed in this epic intellectual showdown? Well, after centuries of debate, the question was finally settled. A later tradition, recorded by a sage named Bar Kapara, came in and delivered the final verdict. And the winner is Ravai. The consensus was that yes, the offering becomes pagul, it's invalid, and the reasoning is pretty cool.
They decided that a complete, full measure of one kind of bad thought, in this case the two halves of the wrong time thought coming together, is just too powerful. That partial, different thought in the middle about the wrong place, it's just not strong enough to stop it. It can't break that connection.
But hold on. Just when you think it's all wrapped up, the rabbis do what they do best. They push the logic even further, into this incredible new territory that tests the very words they're using.
So they ask this amazing, kind of weird question. The rule says the invalid thought has to be about eating the offering at the wrong time. Okay, fine, but what if the priest thinks dogs are going to eat this offering tomorrow? Does that count? Is consumption by an animal the same thing as eating?
The answer from a rabbi and I was a big, resounding yes. And his proof? He points to a verse right there in the Bible that says, "And the dogs shall eat Jezebel." So, since the Bible itself uses the word eat for what dogs do, well, that's good enough for the law. A thought about a dog eating it is a proper eating thought. The offering is pigul. Case closed.
Or is it? Because this answer immediately led to a genius counter question. Someone said, okay, wait a minute. If we're using biblical language as our guide, what about fire? The Bible also describes fire as consuming or eating things. So what if the priest thinks, fire's going to burn this thing up tomorrow? Shouldn't that count too? And this is the final mind-bending twist. It all boils down to the exact word used in the thought. If the priest thinks dogs will eat it, boom, the offering is invalid. But if he thinks fire will burn it, the offering is totally fine, it's valid. The outcome is the same, right? The offering gets destroyed either way, but the words eat and burn are in completely different conceptual boxes. They are not the same thing. It's all about the specific language of the thought.
Okay, so after all of that, what's the point? Why does any of this incredibly detailed ancient debate matter to you and me right now?
Because really, this was never just about ancient rituals. This whole thing is a seriously profound, incredibly detailed attempt to create a legal map of human consciousness itself. They were trying to understand the invisible world of our thoughts, intention, focus, distraction, and to explore the wild idea that the specific words we use in our own heads might actually shape our reality.
And that leaves us with one last big question to chew on. Think about it. In their world, the difference between the mental word eat and burn could literally change the reality of a physical object. So it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Which words in our own lives, even the quiet ones, the ones we only think to ourselves, hold way more power than we ever give them credit for?